When Mark jumped out of the lake and landed on the shore, President Winchester, Master Zachariah, and the others' eyes had already widened to the size of saucers. They suddenly felt that Mark was like a god or a superhero descending from the sky. He was so mighty and domineering. Mark threw the snake tail in his hand on the ground in front of everyone. They were even more shocked. President Winchester, I've cut off the tail of the monster in the lake and subdued it. It won't cause trouble here anymore. Mark dusted his palms together as if he was talking about a small matter. President Winchester pointed at the snake's tail and said, This is the tail of the monster in the lake? It's a snake tail. Does this mean that the monster is a snake? To be precise, it was a monster with a turtle's head and a snake's body, Mark explained. So, young man, you have already cut off the tail of that monster. Why didn't you just kill it to prevent future trouble? The president asked. Mark shook his head and said, This monster is the son of a tortoise and a snake. Its level is not high, but it is a spirit demon. It is naturally much stronger than ordinary demons. Also, do you know why this lake can't be filled in? It's because it has no real bottom. There's a magic tunnel that leads directly to the monster's realm. The reason why I didn't kill it is because I need it to stay in the lake to prevent the other monsters from its realm coming here and causing even more trouble. But rest assured, I have dealt with the problem. I stripped this monster of its demonic pill and cut off its snake tail. It absolutely won't dare to cause trouble again. Mark then raised his hand and pointed at the two willow trees and said, President Winchester, you should send someone to chop down these two willow trees. Without them as a medium, the monster can no longer absorb the spirit energy on the campus, and the entire campus will soon return to normal. President Winchester smiled broadly. This is great. Young man, you really are a master. It is my honor to have met you. In the future, this school will be safe and sound, and it's all thanks to you. President Winchester was extremely excited. He went forward and grasped Mark's hand tightly to express his gratitude. Mark, on the other hand, looked coldly at Professor Perry, who was standing beside the president. Professor Perry's expression changed instantly. Mark said, President, don't thank me too soon. It's true that the monster in the lake killed those women, but their lives were already over before they died. There's something strange about this. I'm afraid somebody else already did something bad to those women before they were killed by the monster. What? Young man, do you mean to say that the life forces of those women were actually sucked out by someone before they ever went near the lake? They were on the verge of death before they were harmed by the monster, President Winchester asked. Mark nodded. That's exactly what I'm saying. President Winchester's expression changed once again. Who could this person be? Why did he do this? Mark turned his eyes to Professor Perry again and said with a cold snort, As for who that person is, he's right in front of us. President Winchester and the others all turned their eyes to Professor Perry. There was a trace of panic on Professor Perry's face, but in order to cover himself, he said, Why are you looking at me? This doesn't have anything to do with me. Mark said, Professor Perry, do you still think you can pretend in front of me? Others might not be able to see it, but I can see the demonic energy and evil energy in your body. Tell me, who exactly are you? Why did you want to harm those women? What is your purpose here? Professor Perry, it's you? President Winchester's face was filled with disbelief. Master Zachariah said, What this young man says is right. The first time I met Professor Perry, I also noticed the evil energy in his body. He is definitely a person with evil magic. Evil magic? The president looked shocked. After all, he was an educator. He believed in science. Evil magic, demons, and the like were unbelievable to him, but the series of events that happened today had overturned his worldview. What evil magic? What nonsense is this? Professor Perry was still trying to defend himself. But Mark was getting impatient. He stepped forward and kicked the professor to the ground. If you continue to quibble, do you believe that I won't punish you on the spot? Mark said. When he thought of those women who had been killed, Mark was furious. Professor Perry had hidden in the university and pretended to be a teacher so he could harm people, and he even put the blame on the monster in the lake. He was really detestable. If Mark didn't get rid of this scourge today, who knew how many people he would kill in the future? Seeing Mark's angry eyes, Professor Perry finally became afraid. "Don't do it. I'll talk. But you need to let go of me first." Only then did Mark let him go. Professor Perry got up from the ground in a sorry state. He looked at Mark with hatred in his eyes. The next second, he suddenly raised his hand and punched his own chest. Immediately after that, there was a trace of pain on his face. His body trembled violently. After a moment, he fell to the ground with a thud. A ball of fire suddenly appeared on his body. This ball of evil fire had a faint black color, but the flame was very big. It quickly surrounded Professor Perry. In the blink of an eye, Professor Perry's entire body burned to ash. This scene shocked everyone present, including Mark. "Damn it," he thought to himself. "He actually committed suicide, and in such a strange way." Master Zachariah, who was standing to one side, exclaimed, "That was black evil fire. He committed suicide in an instant. I think he's part of the fire voodoo cult." Mark was stunned. The fire voodoo cult? What fire voodoo cult? A trace of surprise flashed across Master Zachariah's face. He stepped forward and said to Mark, "You might not know this, but the fire voodoo cult is an old and evil cult. Its secrets have been passed along from member to member for many generations. It specializes in using evil arts to harm people, making it impossible to guard against. It is truly terrifying. The members are extremely secretive, and they don't easily expose their true identities. You saw through this Professor Perry with a single glance. That's why he unleashed the black evil flame in his body. He instantly committed suicide. But the moment he unleashed the black evil flame, the news had already reached the fire voodoo cult. Master Mark, I am afraid you are in big trouble." "Hey, is that so? The fire voodoo cult? Why don't I know about this group?" Mark said straight out, because he'd never heard of it before. "Master Mark, please don't take this matter lightly. The fire voodoo cult is very protective of their people. Anyone who kills their disciples will feel their revenge. Professor Perry died because you saw through his identity. The members of the fire voodoo cult will definitely come and take revenge on you now. Young man, you must be careful in the future." Mark said, "If the members of the fire voodoo cult want to come, they can come. I'm not afraid of them. Such a cult is full of cowardly people who enjoy harming others, so if anyone comes to harm me, I'll enjoy harming them. Just think of it as me eradicating evil for the people of LA." Upon hearing this, Master Zachariah became even more frightened. "Please, don't say such arrogant words. You have underestimated the fire voodoo cult. This group has been in existence for many years and is deeply rooted. Master Mark, you must be careful." Mark waved his hand and said, "When soldiers come, they fight. When water comes, the earth gets wet. Master Zachariah, don't worry about me. If the fire voodoo cult comes, I won't be afraid of them. All right, since this matter has been resolved, I'm going home now." President Winchester, who was standing to one side, was surprised. He'd never thought that there would be a monster residing in the school's lake, or that one of his teachers would actually turn out to be a member of the fire voodoo cult. This creature, who called himself Professor Perry, had released the black evil fire in his body and killed himself in an instant. If President Winchester hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that such a bizarre thing could actually happen in this world. But he was a little worried. Why was Professor Perry hiding in the school and causing the deaths of the female students? Although Professor Perry was now dead, would the fire voodoo cult behind him still come to the school to cause trouble? When Mark turned around and prepared to leave, Master Zachariah finally reacted. He hurriedly took 2 steps forward and said to him, "Master Mark, please wait a moment." Mark stopped in his tracks, turned around, and said, "Is there anything else?" Master Zachariah cupped his hands. He said, "You're very smart and powerful. If you didn't save me just now, I'm afraid I would have died at the bottom of the lake and become the delicious food of that monster. Your kindness in saving my life is impossible to repay, but I, Zachariah, owe you a favor. I also owe you a life. I have always respected the strong and know how to repay favors. So, young man, if there is anything you ever need from me in the future, you have only to ask. I will do whatever I can to help you." Mark said, "Master Zachariah, thank you for saying that." Looking at Mark's back as he left, Master Zachariah stroked his beard with his fingertips and said with emotion, "This Master Mark is not only strong, but also broad-minded. I really admire him." His disciple walked over and said, "Master, you bet with him just now. I thought that after you lost, this man would never let the matter rest. He forced you to kneel and apologize to him, but I didn't expect him to be so broad-minded. It seems like we were the ones who found the heart of a gentleman." Master Zachariah shook his head in shame when he thought about the bet with Mark and how he had looked down on the young man. Amanda, who was standing aside, was secretly surprised. She looked at Mark's back as he left. She said, "I told you, my judgment was not wrong. The first time I saw him, I knew that he was an expert and an extraordinary person, and I was 100% right." Mark's heart was filled with excitement after getting the demonic pill from the lake monster. He wanted to hurry home and use the fire cauldron and some of the best medicinal herbs that Marcy could get. He wanted to see if he could concoct a top-quality demon spirit pill, one that was even better than this one. If he could do that, the strengthening of his body would quickly reach a very solid stage. Just as he was about to stride out of LA University, he heard the sound of a woman crying. The noise seemed to come from a patch of flowers near the university gates. He didn't really want to get involved in other people's business, but he suddenly felt that the cry seemed somewhat familiar. Mark frowned, then followed the sound and walked toward the flowers. Through the gaps in the plants, he saw a woman sitting, hugging her knees and sobbing softly. "Kelly?" Mark realized why it sounded familiar, so he hurriedly used his hand to push aside the flowers. "Kelly, what's wrong with you?" Mark asked. His sister-in-law looked up at him and then suddenly stood up. She wiped the tears off her face and said snappily, "What does that have to do with you?" Kelly rolled her eyes at him and turned to walk away. As she turned away from him, Mark saw that her belly was bigger than before. Her entire waist had thickened. This was clearly the appearance of a pregnant woman who had been pregnant for 4 to 5 months. "Kelly," Mark hurriedly went forward to stop her. "What on earth is going on?" "What's going on?" Kelly's attitude was just as bad as before. "Your stomach." Mark's gaze involuntarily shifted to her stomach as he spoke, but this action enraged her. She raised her hand to slap Mark. "What are you looking at, damn pervert? If you look again, I'll gouge out your eyeballs." But Mark immediately grabbed his sister-in-law's wrist and blocked her hand in the air. Kelly fiercely jerked her hand out of his grasp. Mark said, "Kelly, you have to tell me what's going on." Kelly said, "You don't need to interfere in my business, wretched person. You're the same as them. You think I have a messy private life and can have sex with anything on 2 legs? You think that I did that kind of thing with a man and that's why I'm pregnant?" Kelly felt wronged and angry. She raised her hand, pointed at Mark, and said, "Even my parents and my sister thought I did dirty things and that I was pregnant. And you do too, don't you? Do you know what my classmates think of me? They all look at me strangely. Just now, even my best friend, who is very close to me, mocked me and looked at me with disdain. But what did I do wrong? Why did you do this to me?" Kelly was so emotional because she didn't know why her belly had suddenly become bigger. It made the people around her think that she was pregnant and that she had done something immoral in secret. They all looked at her with strange expressions. Her family, her classmates, and even Mark, this good-for-nothing, looked at her in such a way. It made her furious and miserable. Mark shook his head and said firmly, "No, I don't think you're pregnant." Hearing this, Kelly was stunned. "What do you mean you believe that I'm not pregnant?" "Yes, I know that your stomach is getting bigger, but it's not because you're pregnant. You didn't do any immoral things with a man," Mark said. Kelly looked at him in surprise. "Wretched loser, do you really believe in my innocence? Do you believe that I didn't do anything out of line?" "I do," Mark affirmed. Kelly's expression immediately relaxed. Her previous bad attitude also disappeared, and her tears flowed again. She was touched because she believed what Mark said. Finally, after watching her belly grow bigger and bigger while everyone looked at her accusingly, someone believed her. "Do you really believe me? Let me tell you, I've never done that kind of thing with any man. But somehow my belly started getting bigger and bigger. I secretly went to the hospital for a checkup, and the doctor told me I am indeed pregnant." Kelly cried even more sadly and felt even more wronged. "I don't do that kind of thing. I don't sleep around. How can I be pregnant? What's going on?" Mark said, "Kelly, first, don't worry. Can I take a look at your stomach?" Kelly was suspicious. "Look at my belly? Why?" "Don't misunderstand me. I just want to take a quick look because I think there's something strange going on," Mark said. Kelly hesitated for a moment, but then nodded and agreed. Although her brother-in-law was a useless person, it seemed that, right now, he was the only person who believed her. Kelly slowly lifted her top and revealed her belly. The skin on her stomach was very white. If it was not for the bulging of her stomach, her figure could be said to be perfect. Mark was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect his sister-in-law's skin to be so smooth and perfect, but he sternly reminded himself not to have any distracting thoughts. Mark carefully observed his sister-in-law's bulging belly. After a moment, his eyes flashed with a golden light, and he discovered something. There was a faint red ripple in the middle of his sister-in-law's belly. If you didn't look carefully, you wouldn't be able to see it. But if you looked carefully, you would discover that the red ripple was in the shape of a fish. Mark frowned and couldn't help but take 2 steps forward. He even reached out his hand and gently touched her belly. "Hey, what are you doing?" his sister-in-law shouted. She thought that Mark wanted to take advantage of her. "Don't move." Mark grabbed her hand. He stared at her and continued to stare at her belly. "Fish? Red fish?" The sister-in-law was stunned. "What did you say?" "I said that there is a red fish-shaped line on your belly. It is very strange." Kelly was shocked and quickly looked down at her belly. "Oh my God, why is there a red line on my belly? And why does it look like a fish?" Mark immediately realized that something was wrong. It seemed that his suspicion was right. The reason why his sister-in-law was pregnant was not because she had slept with a man, but because someone had done something to her. "Kelly, tell me honestly, has anything strange happened to you recently?" Seeing Mark's serious face, Kelly suddenly felt worried. She thought hard, and then said, "Well, recently I've been having some strange dreams." "Dreams? What kind of dreams? Tell me about them," Mark said. Kelly stared at the ground for a few moments before saying in a small voice, "Well, about a month ago, I suddenly dreamed of an old man dressed in all black. He held a stick of some kind in one hand and a black object in the other. I took a closer look and saw the object was a fish, but it was ugly as anything. Also, I've never seen that kind of fish before. That old man had a ferocious expression on his face. Step by step, he approached me and then placed the black fish in his hand on my belly. I watched helplessly as the fish entered my stomach. Then I woke up covered in sweat." Kelly glanced briefly at Mark before dropping her eyes again. "Also, ever since that dream, I felt that there's something in my stomach, and since then, I often dreamt about that old man. Sometimes I dream about that black fish swimming around in my stomach." "I can't believe there's such a thing. Have you been having nightmares for a month?" Mark frowned. "Yes, but they're just dreams, so I didn't take them seriously." Mark frowned even more. An old man in black clothes. A black fish? "I understand," Mark said. "Kelly, if I'm right, you have been pregnant since that night when you dreamed that the old man put a black fish into your stomach. Your belly has grown bigger and bigger day by day since then." Kelly thought for a while and said, "Yes, that's right. From that time on, I felt that my stomach was slowly getting bigger, but I never thought that I could be pregnant, so I didn't think too much about it." Kelly helplessly grabbed Mark's arm. "Wretched, Mark, what's going on? How could I get pregnant from a dream?" Mark didn't immediately answer her question. Instead, he closed his eyes and quickly searched his mind. Among the techniques that the white-bearded old man taught him, there was a special enhancement technique. He searched his mind for the details. "Mark, talk to me. What's wrong with me? I'm scared." Mark slowly opened his eyes and said slowly, "You are not pregnant. You have been infected by the venom." "Venom? What venom?" "The fish venom, and unfortunately, as well as being a poison, it is also a curse." "What? I'm cursed? How can this be?" Kelly stared at Mark in horror. "What is the fish venom?" she asked. Mark searched in his mind for information about the fish venom and explained. "The fish venom is one of the more vicious venom spells. There is a kind of fish in the LA River called the corpse fish because it has a very dark body and looks like a corpse. If you capture this corpse fish and use the fresh blood and flesh of a newborn baby to feed it for 49 days, it will unleash its corpse nature. Its entire body will fill with an evil and ruthless aura. It will grow up to a foot long, and its entire body will become even darker. After that, you must kill the fish and obtain its soul. Then you must use a special method to tame this fish's soul. Then you can place the fish soul into the body of a young and beautiful woman while she's sleeping, and the fish soul will slowly absorb her essence energy. The woman's stomach will also slowly bulge. The more time passes, the more essence energy the fish will absorb, and the bigger the woman's stomach will become. Mark raised his hand and pointed at his sister-in-law's belly and said, "Just like you, right now. The fish soul has made your belly swell up so much in just a month's time. This means that it has already absorbed a lot of your essence." He looked carefully at her. "Kelly, if I'm not wrong, you have been feeling dizzy from time to time recently. Your body feels weak, right?" Kelly nodded.
"Yes, I thought I had some illness. I even went to the hospital to have a checkup, and other than being pregnant, everything was normal. But sometimes I just feel weak and don't even want to open my eyes."
"This is only the beginning. As time passes, your essence energy will be absorbed more and more, and your body will become even weaker. In the end, all of your essence energy will be absorbed, and you'll become a dried husk," Mark said.
"Dried husk? No, that can't be."
Kelly was so scared that she covered her mouth with her hands. She didn't dare to imagine it. Mark continued. "After you become a dried husk, the fish in your stomach will be born. It will be born like a normal baby, and then taken away by the person who planted the fish venom in you. That way, this fish will become an extremely sinister and powerful weapon. With this weapon, it can silently kill people. Whoever planted the fish venom in you has extremely sinister and cruel intentions." Kelly was stunned. She didn't expect that the matter would be so serious.
"Why did that person cast such a vicious fish venom spell on me?"
Mark said. "It might be that you offended someone in some way, and they decided to get back at you with the help of a powerful venom master. Of course, it's also possible that the venom master wanted to refine a powerful artifact like the fish soul and just randomly chose his target, which was, unfortunately, you." Kelly's entire body began to tremble. At this moment, she was helpless and hopeless. She went forward and grabbed Mark's arm.
"Am I going to die? Please help me. Don't let me die."
Mark was very surprised. All the information he'd just told Kelly regarding the fish venom was all from his mind. Before meeting the old man all those years ago, he had no knowledge or understanding of this kind of thing, and he would never have thought that anything like the venom existed, or would be so vicious. "Don't worry, there's a way to save you." Mark closed his eyes again and searched in his mind for a way to remove the venom. No matter how vicious the venom technique was, since someone planted the fish venom, there would be a way to remove it. Mark said, "Kelly, don't be afraid. It's actually very simple to remove this kind of venom. I only need to use a special technique and incantation to get rid of this newly formed fish soul in your stomach."
"Really? Is it really that simple?"
A glimmer of hope rose in Kelly's heart, but then she remembered that the man in front of her was just a wimp. How could he possibly know how to cure this kind of venom technique?
"You're not lying to me, are you? You really can save me? What did you say about special techniques and incantations? What are those things?"
"You don't need to worry about them. I'll help you remove the venom now. You just need to trust me and do what I say," Mark said seriously. What he didn't tell Kelly was just how much danger she was in. There was no time to lose. He had to help his sister-in-law as soon as possible, or else.
"What should I do?"
Although Kelly didn't trust Mark completely, there was no other way now. She could only treat him like a doctor, because although Mark was a wimp, he had saved her father. Maybe he would be lucky again and help her get rid of the venom spell. Whatever happened, he was her only choice. "All right, do exactly as I say. Close your eyes," Mark said. As he spoke, he raised his right hand and made a sign with it. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from behind. "Don't waste your time, Kelly. You're lying to yourself." Mark was about to remove the venom, but he immediately turned around and looked behind him. He saw a sexy woman wearing a tight black leather jacket that showed off her beautiful figure. Her hair was wavy and dyed blonde. Her facial features were fine and elegant, and her eyes were large and luminous. Although she was very beautiful, she had an unusual persona. She had an indescribable arrogance and pride from head to toe. Kelly's eyes widened in surprise when she saw this woman.
"Tamsin Lamb?"
Tamsin Lamb. This name was gentle and delicate, but it was a pity that the woman in front of her didn't belong to the gentle and delicate type. Tamsin Lamb shook her head and folded her arms. She looked at Kelly with disdain and arrogance, and then said with a mocking expression, "Kelly, what is the meaning of you playing these tricks? Pregnant means pregnant. No one can deny this." Kelly got angry when she heard this.
What did you say?
Tamsin Lamb sneered. "Did I say something wrong? You were pregnant because you were fooling around with a man, but now you refuse to admit it and insist on saying some kind of venom was planted in you? You're simply lying to yourself." When Mark heard this, his brows instantly knitted together. Who was this woman? It was one thing for her to look arrogant, but her words were merciless. Kelly was angered to the point that her face turned ashen. She took a step forward and pointed at Tamsin and said,
"Shut your mouth. Don't speak like that here. I've never slept with any man."
Tamsin sneered. "Look at your belly. It's huge. The truth is right in front of you, yet you still refuse to admit it. Now everyone in the university knows that there's a student here who messed with a man and got pregnant, but refuses to admit it, no matter what. What is even more ridiculous is that now you say that you have been poisoned by some kind of venom. You are so desperate that you even asked this useless man here to help you remove the venom? It's ridiculous." "You..." Kelly was so angry that she couldn't speak. Mark's eyes turned cold. This Tamsin Lamb was speaking maliciously. Mark said to his sister-in-law, "Kelly, this person is..." Kelly said,
"Her name is Tamsin Lamb, and she's also a student at our school. She relies on her family's wealth and power, so she has always been arrogant and domineering. She also established a club called the Red Badge Gang in our school and named herself Big Sister. Actually, she's just a bully. She has a habit of it. I don't know what set her off recently, but she has her sights on me. She always goes after me, and it got way worse when I got pregnant. She's been laughing at me for messing around with men, and she's working hard to destroy my reputation in our school. She's really detestable."
Hearing this, Mark instantly understood what was going on. It turned out that even though this Tamsin Lamb had a gentle and delicate name, she was in fact the unofficial boss of LA University. No wonder she looked like a prostitute with bleached blonde hair. All she needed to look like a real hooker was thick makeup and a cigarette hanging from the corner of her mouth. Before Mark could say anything, Tamsin took a step forward, pointed at him, and said, "You are Kelly's useless brother-in-law, right? I've heard about you. Seeing you today, I can indeed see that you're a useless person. In fact, not only are you a useless person, but you're also an idiot. You actually believe that Kelly was hit with some kind of venom spell? Stop being ridiculous. Kelly is just pregnant, plain and simple." Even Mark couldn't take it anymore. If it wasn't for the fact that she was a woman, Mark would have punched her already. "Whether my sister-in-law is pregnant or not doesn't have anything to do with you, does it?" Mark said with a cold face. Tamsin smirked. "Nope, it has nothing at all to do with me, but I just can't stand seeing her acting like a whore. I want everyone to see her for the fool she is. The sadder she is, the happier I feel." Tamsin suddenly clapped her hands and shouted to some people nearby, "Hey everyone, come and look. Our school's newly promoted pro is here. Everyone come and take a look. How did this woman manage to get pregnant? I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count." When Tamsin Lamb shouted out to attract everyone's attention to Kelly, a few students quickly gathered around to watch the show. The noise also attracted President Winchester, Master Zachariah, and the others who had gathered at Green Lake. They thought that Mark had already left, but then saw that he was right there with Kelly. So the president and the others walked through the crowd and asked Mark, "Master Mark, didn't you leave already? What's going on?" Mark looked at President Winchester and shook his head. He didn't say anything. Tamsin saw President Winchester and immediately raised her voice. "President, you came at the right time. LA University is a famous university, but there are people in the school who break the rules and do unsavory things. As the president, shouldn't you do something about this?" Hearing this, President Winchester frowned. "Tamsin, what are you saying?" Tamsin pointed at Kelly and said, "It's Kelly. She's really shameless. She seduced a man and messed around with him, and then her stomach got bigger." Hearing this, President Winchester's face fell. Although university management was relatively lax, and the students were over 18 and legally able to do what they wanted, the university looked with disapproval on openly sexual relationships, especially if they resulted in pregnancies. The president followed Tamsin's finger and looked toward Kelly. Sure enough, he discovered that this petite woman's stomach had swelled up as if she had been pregnant for 5 or 6 months. "Kelly, is it?" the president asked seriously. "Well, Kelly, which department are you in? Which program? Who is your supervisor?" Kelly immediately started to panic, because if the president got angry, he could expel her in a moment. Then her last few years of university studies would have been in vain. So she hurriedly went forward and tried to explain.
President, please listen to me. I didn't do anything immoral. Tamsin is talking nonsense.
I'm talking nonsense? The truth is right in front of you. If you didn't sleep around, why did your stomach become so big? And don't say you ate too many donuts, because nobody's going to believe that one, Tamsin said. The surrounding classmates discussed the situation animatedly. This woman's stomach had become bigger. Other than doing what Tamsin was accusing her of, there really was no other way her midsection could have grown so big. Kelly's face turned red because she was indeed pregnant, even though she hadn't slept with anyone.
I didn't do any immoral things. I'm not pregnant because of anything I did. I was poisoned.
Kelly panicked and said with a red face. She didn't expect that when she said this, Tamsin would immediately burst into laughter.
Have you been poisoned by the venom? That's rich. Do you really think anyone's going to believe such a crazy thing?
Tamsin then turned to the president and said,
President Winchester, Kelly says that she was poisoned. Do you believe her?
Although President Winchester was an educator and advocated science, he also knew that there were many things in the world that science couldn't explain. For example, there really were venom spells and curses in the world, but those things were very far away from real life. So he didn't think Kelly was infected by venom.
President, why are you hesitating? Our school is harboring a whore, so why don't you quickly announce to the whole school that you're going to expel her?
When Kelly heard this, she was so frightened that her legs trembled. Just then, Master Zachariah said, President Winchester, wait. I think that the reason why this young lady is pregnant is not because she slept with someone, but because she really was infected by the venom. Hey, is that so? Master Zachariah, do you also think that this woman was really poisoned? President Winchester found it hard to believe the accusations of a student, but he believed Master Zachariah. Mostly to get confirmation, President Winchester turned his eyes to Mark. Master Mark, what do you think? President Winchester asked. Mark nodded and said, My sister-in-law was indeed poisoned by the fish venom. President Winchester was stunned for a moment when he heard that this student called Kelly was Mark's sister-in-law. Fortunately, he hadn't expelled her from the university. Otherwise, he would have offended Mark, and that was the last thing he wanted to do. President Winchester had witnessed Mark's ability, so he trusted him very much. Since Mark said that this woman called Kelly was infected by the fish venom, then it must be true. Master Zachariah said, Master Mark is right. This woman was indeed infected by the fish venom. It was an extremely malicious venom spell made from a corpse fish that was caught in the LA River. After that, it was fed on the flesh and blood of a newborn baby. Then it was killed, and its soul was extracted. The fish soul was placed in the belly of this young woman. When the essence in the woman's body has been completely absorbed, turning her into a dried husk, she will give birth to this black fish. As you can see, before the fish has completely consumed the woman's essence, her stomach slowly swells up, just like a pregnant woman who has been pregnant for 7 months. After listening to Master Zachariah's explanation, everyone on the scene sucked in a breath of cold air. President Winchester was even more surprised. He didn't know there actually was such a vicious venom technique in existence. Tamsin, however, was not convinced and shouted, President Winchester, don't listen to their nonsense. You're an educator. How can you believe in these superstitious things? It is nonsense. I think they're just helping Kelly find a reason to cover up the ugly things she did. Tamsin snorted coldly again and said, Just based on her red lips and white teeth, who can believe that Kelly is pregnant because of the venom? Just now you all said that there was a black fish in her stomach. Okay, if that's really the case, then you guys need to get that black fish out of her stomach and let everyone see it. Only then can you prove that what you say is true. Master Zachariah was stunned and looked troubled. Then he sighed and said, "As far as I know, this fish venom is the most vicious of all venoms, unless it's removed by a master who specializes in removing venom. Once one is hit by the fish venom, it's basically a one-way street."
Master Zachariah, do you mean that no one can cure this kind of venom? Do you mean you can't prove that Kelly was hit by the fish venom? Tamsin said persistently.
Master Zachariah was speechless. He really wanted to help Kelly remove the venom spell and save her life. He also wanted to let everyone know that she was not the kind of woman who slept around, but had indeed been infected by the venom, which was why her stomach was so big. Unfortunately, he couldn't do so. With his current strength, he didn't have the power to remove this fish venom.
Since this venom can't be removed, then you can't prove that Kelly hasn't been sleeping around. President Winchester, the matter is clear. Kelly wasn't affected by any venom magic at all. She got pregnant because of a careless relationship. As the president of our school, you should give us a satisfactory reason for letting such an immoral student stay enrolled. It's embarrassing for us to have her here, and we deserve an explanation.
Anger had already appeared on President Winchester's face. Right at this moment, Mark took a step forward and said to the president, "President Winchester, my sister-in-law was hit with the fish venom. I know some people don't believe me, but it's true. All right, I'll remove the venom and let everyone take a good look at what exactly it is." Upon hearing this, Master Zachariah's expression changed. "Master Mark, you mean you can remove the venom?" Mark nodded and said lightly, "Of course. What else did you think?" Master Zachariah was a little surprised, although he'd seen Mark's ability before. The young man could be called a master in some respects, but as Master Zachariah had said before, only a venom master who specialized in removing venom for others could remove this fish venom. Although Mark was an expert, he might not be able to remove this kind of venom. "Master Mark, forgive me for being blunt. Although you're very capable, not all masters can cure this kind of fish venom. You need to go to Haiti or the South Pacific to find a master who specializes in removing venom," Master Zachariah informed Mark. "There's no need for that. I said I can cure it," Mark said.
All right, since you said you can remove the venom, prove it. If you have the ability, remove the venom and take the black fish out of her stomach. Let everyone see it with their own eyes.
Tamsin shouted loudly.
Because, personally, I don't believe it. If you can really get that black fish out of her stomach, I'll dare to eat it.
Hearing this, Master Zachariah's expression suddenly changed. He hurriedly stepped forward and said, "Miss, be careful with your words. This fish venom is refined from a fish soul. It has its own consciousness and intelligence. Even now it can hear what you're saying. You just said you want to eat it, and I'm afraid it won't let you off easily after hearing that." Tamsin's eyes widened, and she looked at Master Zachariah as if she was looking at a fool. Then she said with disdain,
Are you saying that the fish can hear me? What kind of joke is this? I don't believe that Kelly has any black fish in her stomach. Even if there is, I'm not afraid of it. If it's really inside her and it comes out, I'll destroy it. Go ahead.
As she spoke, Tamsin actually took out her phone and pointed the camera at Mark and Kelly.
Come on, don't waste time. Since you call yourself Master Mark, let's you undo this fish venom and get the black fish out of Kelly's stomach. Let everyone watch the whole thing. I'll even make a live stream for you to let everyone see if you actually have the skill you're boasting of.
Tamsin said, and turned on a live streaming platform that she often hung out on and started the live stream.
Fellow netizens, everyone is here to see something special. This woman is called Kelly. She's a student at our school, and because of the careless relationships she's been having, she's pregnant, but she refuses to admit it. She even claims that she was hit by some fish venom. This useless man next to her is her brother-in-law. He's boasted shamelessly that he can cure her of the venom and even get the black fish out of her stomach. Today, I'll be streaming live so everyone can be a witness. At the same time, I'll expose this person's lies and show everyone the true face of this shameless woman, Kelly.
Mark raised his right hand and quickly drew a rune in his left palm. Then he placed his left palm on Kelly's stomach, and his right hand formed a finger seal. He chanted an incantation. After a moment, Kelly's stomach began to violently roll. Then she clearly felt something climbing up from her stomach, all the way to her throat. She felt a wave of discomfort at her throat and was forced to open her mouth wide. Then, with a whoosh, something sprayed out from her throat. It was a fish, about a foot long. It was black and red, and its eyes were huge. It was flashing with a black light. This scene stunned everyone, except for Master Zachariah. Almost no one believed what Mark said. They didn't believe that Kelly really had a fish in her stomach, but the facts now in front of them didn't allow them to think otherwise.
My God, there really is a fish! It came out of that woman's mouth!
Someone in the crowd shouted. Master Zachariah's expression changed drastically. Mark actually removed the venom and forced the fish out of this woman's stomach. This fish was covered in black and red stripes, and its eyes were really big. This was a fish venom king. Mark had not thought that he might actually extract the highest and most powerful fish venom king from his sister-in-law. He'd thought that it was just an ordinary black fish that was nurtured by an evil technique. Master Zachariah realized the danger first and hastily shouted,
"Not good! Master Mark, this is a fish venom king! Kill it quickly, otherwise it'll find another host!"
Of course, Mark had also realized this. There was a voice in his mind reminding him that he had to kill this fish as soon as possible. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. So, he suddenly raised his hand, planning to kill the fish with one blow. But he was a second too late. After it was spat out from Kelly's throat, the fish venom king quickly arced through the air. Then it turned its body around and flew as straight as an arrow towards Tamsin, who was standing opposite it. Everyone's expression changed drastically, but Tamsin still didn't understand what was going on. She just saw a red and black fish flying toward her. She opened her mouth wide in shock, and in the next second, the fish quickly entered her mouth. Tamsin let out a muffled groan, and the phone in her hand fell to the ground. There was a pained expression on her face, and her throat rolled. The fish slid down her throat and into her stomach. Tamsin felt her stomach sink before something rolled in it, and it slowly became bigger. In almost a blink of an eye, Tamsin's flat stomach swelled up to an even bigger size than Kelly's stomach was before. Tamsin was so frightened that she cried out and looked down at her protruding belly, full of fear. "My God, what is going on? That fish came out of Kelly's stomach and went into Tamsin's stomach." The onlookers were also very frightened. Master Zachariah's face changed again.
"Not good! It's too late! The fish venom king has found a new host!"
Master Zachariah looked at Tamsin with eyes full of pity. He couldn't help but sigh.
"Miss, I reminded you before that you must be careful with your words, but you didn't listen. The fish venom king has entered your stomach. I'm afraid that it will absorb the essence and active energy in your body in a short amount of time, and you will become a dried husk."
The surrounding people began to chatter about this among themselves, while Tamsin turned white. Earlier, she didn't believe that there was any fish venom at all. That was why she had spoken so rudely earlier, saying that if Mark could really get that black fish out, she would eat it. Now that the fish had entered her stomach, she couldn't help but believe in it. She lowered her head and looked at her bulging belly, feeling extreme pain. Recalling that she was about to turn into a dried husk, she almost collapsed. She no longer had the arrogance that she used to mock Kelly. She tightly clutched her belly, ran 2 steps, and dropped to her knees in front of Master Zachariah. "Master, save me!" Master Zachariah shook his head and sighed.
"Although I have a deep understanding of many techniques, regarding this venom technique, it is not what I'm good at. Besides, the fish venom that has entered your body is the fish venom king. I can't remove it by myself, and even if I invited a master from Haiti here to cure the venom, he still might not get here in time to be successful if he did."
Upon hearing this, Tamsin instantly felt despair. Master Zachariah then changed the topic.
"But although I can't help you, Master Mark might be able to give it a try."
Master Zachariah turned his eyes to Mark and told him the truth. He really hadn't expected Mark to know how to remove the fish venom. He seemed to have only chanted a spell just now and made a finger gesture before he easily removed the fish venom from Kelly's body. So now, perhaps Master Mark could help Tamsin remove the fish venom king from her body. When she heard that, Tamsin didn't hesitate. She turned her head to look at Mark and knelt down in front of him. She begged with tears in her eyes, "I beg you, please save me. I don't want to die." Mark's face was calm, and he didn't answer. Kelly recovered from her shock and looked down to see that her stomach had returned to normal. She immediately grabbed Mark's arm in excitement. "Mark, see, my stomach has become smaller." At this moment, Kelly believed in Mark. She had indeed been hit by the fish venom, which was why her stomach had become bigger. Now that Mark had helped her remove the venom, her stomach had returned to normal. And the black fish in her stomach had already entered Tamsin's stomach. Kelly looked at Tamsin, who was in extreme pain. "Serves you right. You really deserve it. Tamsin, when you insulted and ridiculed me just now, did you imagine this situation?" Tamsin was being tormented by the fish in her stomach. She was in extreme pain. She knelt pitifully at Mark's feet. "Save me, Master. Please save me." Master Zachariah went forward and said,
"Master Mark, you're mysterious and unpredictable. I'm afraid that you're the only one who can cure this woman. If the fish venom king absorbs all the energy essence of this woman, it will become incomparably powerful. This woman will also become a dried husk, so I would like to ask you to save her."
Mark sneered. He looked at Tamsin, who was lying on the ground, and said sternly, "Tamsin, do you know your mistake?" "I was wrong. I know my mistake. I will never dare to speak rudely to your sister-in-law again. Please save me." Kelly took a step forward and pointed at Tamsin and said, "Mark, you can't save her. This woman is rotten. She uses her family's wealth and power to be arrogant and despotic in our school. There was once a woman here whose beauty Tamsin was jealous of, so Tamsin shaved off this student's hair and ruined her life. Also, Tamsin is jealous and selfish when it comes to dating. Even when she finishes with a guy, no one else can have him. Once Tamsin's man, always Tamsin's man. Even when she can't stand the sight of them anymore, none of us are allowed to do so much as smile at one of Tamsin's exes. She'll beat on us, and then she'll go beat on them." Mark frowned when he heard how selfish and vicious Tamsin was. President Winchester, who was standing to one side, lowered his head. Because Tamsin was a student at his school, of course, he knew about her crimes. But due to the power and influence of Tamsin's family, he could only turn a blind eye and let her do whatever she wanted. He didn't dare to interfere. Now, seeing Tamsin on the ground in extreme pain, Mark said, "Tamsin, I'm not happy that you were rude to my sister-in-law just now. I wanted to save you because I believe human life is precious, but I didn't expect you to be so mean to your fellow students. A person like you really isn't worth saving." Tamsin's face turned pale when she heard this. She stared at Mark and said, "You really don't want to save me?" Mark turned his eyes to President Winchester and asked, "President Winchester, Tamsin is a student at your university. Has she done what Kelly claims?"
"This..."
President Winchester was speechless for a moment. He tacitly agreed with Kelly, but didn't say anything. Mark sneered and said to Tamsin, "Now I understand why. With so many women to choose from, this fish venom king chose you to be its host, because this is the retribution you deserve." You... Tamsin, who was kneeling and begging for forgiveness just now, suddenly became angry. She gritted her teeth and said, "I'll ask you again. Are you really not going to save me?" "No." Mark spat out the word without thinking. Do you know who I am? I'm a member of the Lamb family, and the Lambs are the second largest family in California, second only to the Green family. We're one of the 4 big gang families in LA, and my father, Roger Lamb, is one of the most powerful bosses around. If you refuse to save me, the Lamb family will never let you go. Tamsin threatened Mark. But was Mark afraid? Of course not. Just then, Tamsin's phone rang. She ignored the pain in her stomach and took it out. She pressed the answer button. It was her brother, Liam. As soon as Tamsin picked up the phone, she said in a painful voice, Liam, come and save me. Liam, who was on the other end of the line, was stunned.
Tamsin, what's wrong? Did something happen?
Tamsin said,
I got hit by the fish venom. A fish went into my stomach. Liam, quickly come and save me. I'm going to die.
Tamsin, where are you now?
Liam asked.
I'm at school.
Tamsin had just finished speaking when she fell to the ground because of the pain in her stomach. Her phone also fell to the ground. Her brother, Liam, realized that something was wrong and immediately headed to LA University. Tamsin took a breath and said to Mark,
My brother will be here soon. If you save me now, the Lambs will spare your life. But if you still don't know what's good for you, when my brother comes, he will definitely not forgive you.
The surrounding onlookers gasped. They knew the power of Tamsin's family. The Lambs had always been arrogant and despotic in California, especially Liam. The Lambs moved in the upper circles of California society, and young Liam had all the wealth and power an arrogant young man could want. No one dared to question him or curb his actions. President Winchester secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He was worried for Mark. If Mark really refused to save Tamsin, then when Liam came later, he would definitely not let this matter go. In addition, President Winchester was also afraid that Liam would vent his anger on him personally because of this matter. He couldn't afford to offend this stubborn and arrogant young man who would one day be the head of the Lamb family. So, after hesitating for a while, President Winchester took a step forward and said to Mark,
Master Mark, saving a life is better than letting one go. Tamsin may not be a nice person, but she's human, and her life is important. I hope you will save her.
Mark said, Saving a person's life is indeed worthwhile, but it also depends on the quality of that person's life. If I preserve Tamsin's evil life of recklessly trampling on other people's existences, I'll be no better than she is.
But
President Winchester was speechless for a moment. President Winchester, you just said that Tamsin's is a human life and therefore worth saving, but the people she harms also have human lives. Why doesn't anyone save them from her? Mark asked back. President Winchester didn't know what to say. Mark nodded. Tamsin's family only has dirty money. She doesn't care about other people's lives when someone is prettier than her. Kelly told me that she disfigured a woman with a knife once, and then the woman committed suicide by jumping off the building. And any boys who grow bored with her and dare to look at another woman get their arms and legs broken. The woman they look at gets treated the same way. Such a person simply doesn't deserve to live in this world. The surrounding people began to discuss the situation.
That's right. Tamsin has committed many evil deeds. She absolutely cannot be saved. A person like her should die.
It was obvious that Tamsin's behavior had angered a lot of people. President Winchester hesitated for a moment and said,
Master Mark, Tamsin has indeed committed all kinds of evil deeds, but if you don't save her, I'm afraid that the people of the Lamb family won't let this matter go.
As soon as he said this, a burst of hurried footsteps was heard. A young man in an Armani suit quickly ran up.
Tamsin, are you all right?
The man pushed the crowd of onlookers aside and saw his little sister, Tamsin, lying on the ground in extreme pain.
Liam, save me!
Tamsin saw her brother coming and immediately extended a hand to him as if she saw a life-saving straw. Liam hurriedly ran over and was shocked when he saw that his sister's belly was so big.
Tamsin, your belly!
Liam was stunned for a moment. Suddenly, he thought of something and stood up. He pointed at the crowd and scolded.
Damn it, who did this? Who actually made my little sister pregnant? Show yourself if you have the guts. I'll cripple you first, and then I'll cripple your entire family. No one touches my sister.
The LA University students all knew that Tamsin had an elder brother who was even more arrogant and domineering than her. When they saw this arrogant young man, they couldn't help but take 2 steps back.
Liam, it's not what you think. I was hit by the fish venom. That's why my stomach has become bigger," Tamsin said through her pain. Liam was stunned. "What? Fish venom? What is that?" "It's a curse," Tamsin told him. "Curse?" Liam widened his eyes. A moment later, he walked over to President Winchester. Without saying a word, he raised his hand and slapped President Winchester's face. Then he pointed at him and scolded loudly. "Old man, my little sister is in your university. She's your responsibility, yet you let someone put a curse on her? I think you owe me an explanation." The surrounding students were speechless. They all gasped. This Liam was really too arrogant. He actually dared to hit the president. President Winchester was a highly respected person and was loved by his students. But he was actually slapped by this rich young man without any questions being asked. He was also slapped in front of so many students. President Winchester became anxious and angry, but he didn't dare to retaliate because he knew that he couldn't afford to offend the Lamb family. "Old man, I'm talking to you. What's wrong with my sister? If this happened to her in your school, I will raze your entire campus to the ground." Liam raised his hand as he spoke, wanting to hit President Winchester again. "Stop," Mark ordered. Liam was stunned. He turned away from President Winchester and looked at Mark. "How dare you tell me to stop? Who do you think you are?" Liam narrowed his eyes and looked at Mark with disdain. "The people of the Lamb family are really arrogant. They even dare to hit the respectable president. It seems like you're not any better than your sister, who has done so much evil." Mark's voice was full of sarcasm. Then he looked at Tamsin, who was lying on the ground. "It seems that this woman is not worth saving. You Lambs, you deserve to be punished. You cannot be left alive to continue hurting people." "What did you say?" Liam was furious. Just as her brother was about to flare up, Tamsin said, "Liam, I feel so bad. Am I going to die?" Liam didn't care about arguing with Mark anymore. He quickly returned to his sister's side and said, "Tamsin, don't be afraid. It's just a curse. I'll call Dad right away and ask him to go to the South Pacific to find a master to undo the curse." "It's too late," Tamsin said. "The venom I got is the fish venom, and the fish that entered my stomach is the fish venom king. It's too late. It'll soon suck my essence energy dry. It will turn me into a dried husk, but—" Tamsin suddenly pointed at Mark and said, "But there is a person here who can help me remove the venom. It's him." Liam was stunned. "Him? He can save you?" Liam was amazed when Tamsin said that Mark could save her. You? You can save my sister?" Liam looked at Mark, then narrowed his eyes and said, "Since you can save her, why are you still standing there? Why don't you do something?" Mark didn't say anything. He just looked at Liam coldly. Liam raised his voice and said, "I order you to save my sister immediately." "You order me? You're not worthy to order pizza," Mark said coldly. "You?" Liam never thought that Mark would have such an attitude. He, Liam, had always been the one in charge. No one ever dared to speak to him in such a way. He sized Mark up and found that he was just an ordinary person who wore ordinary clothes and had an ordinary appearance. So the disdain on Liam's face became even stronger. Liam took a step forward and raised his hand to grab Mark. "I'll say it again. Save my sister immediately." But just as Liam reached out his hand, Mark grabbed his wrist. Liam felt pain all of a sudden. He wanted to pull his hand back, but failed after trying a few times. This showed how strong Mark was. Mark stared into his eyes and said word by word, "No one can force me to do anything I don't want to do." After saying that, Mark suddenly let go of Liam's hand. Liam took 2 steps back. When he looked at Mark again, his expression was serious. "Good, you have some skills. It seems I might have underestimated you." Liam flexed his wrist and then said, "But I'm afraid there are only a few people in this world who dare to oppose me. Who do you think you are?" After saying that, Liam suddenly clenched his fist and attacked Mark unexpectedly. There was a loud thump, and before the crowd could figure out what happened, Liam stumbled backward, staggered, and almost fell to the ground. Everyone was shocked. It was obviously Liam who attacked Mark, so why was he the one who stumbled and almost fell? Liam was completely enraged.
He got his balance and stood there, clenching his fists tightly. He gathered all his strength and then suddenly let out a loud shout. His muscles bulged and his clothes shredded. Liam came from the Lamb family, an old family with a lot of secret fitness and fighting skills. Liam's father had trained his son since he was young in the techniques of the Lambs. Although Liam's talent was only average, he'd trained for more than 20 years. His strength had also accumulated, although it hadn't yet reached its peak. Mark frowned slightly when he saw the bulging muscles on Liam's body and his imposing manner. It seemed like this guy was a real fighter. The reason why Liam was so arrogant and domineering was first because of the Lamb family's power, and second, because he had his own fighting skills. He wouldn't presume to say that he was a match for anyone, but there weren't many people in California who could best him in a fight. Therefore, he'd developed the habit of attacking first whenever there was a disagreement. He always believed that a fist could make those who didn't accept him submit.
A fool dares to oppose me? I think you're tired of living. Today I'll give you a taste of how powerful I am.
After saying that, Liam clenched his fist once more and threw himself at Mark. Mark's energy condensed in an instant. A force that was like fire spread out in his body. It gathered in the center of his palm and he pushed it forward. With a puff, a tongue of flame spurted out. An enormous force erupted from his hand and smashed into Liam's chest. Liam let out a miserable cry, and his body was instantly sent flying. He landed in the patch of flowers where Kelly had been hiding. The crowd gasped. No one had expected that Liam, with all his abilities, would be defeated by Mark before he could even make a move. Liam struggled for a long time before he finally got out of the flowers. He lowered his head and looked at his chest. Surprisingly, a black palm print had appeared there. It was a shocking sight. Liam was somewhat stunned, but before he could regain his senses, Mark suddenly appeared in front of him and sent him to the ground with another punch. This time, before he could stand up, Mark stepped on his chest.
Spare me! Spare me!
Liam begged for mercy because he felt that the force pressing down on his chest was enough to kill him. Begging me? You're not worthy. Mark's tone was cold. Liam, do you believe that I can send you to meet your maker just by stepping a little harder? Liam was breathing heavily, and he no longer had his previous arrogance. But at this moment, a voice suddenly said, "Young man, please wait for a moment." Mark looked up and saw a man in his 50s walking over from the path in the garden. The man was dressed in black, and he had a powerful body and a commanding persona. Behind him were 2 bodyguards. Seeing this person, Tamsin was the first to call out.
Dad, you're finally here. Save me.
The man was none other than Liam and Tamsin's father, Roger Lamb. Roger was the head of the Lamb family. Tamsin was a student at this university, so Roger would naturally arrange for bodyguards to protect her in secret. So everything that happened to the siblings today had long been reported to Roger by the bodyguards who were secretly protecting them. When the reports of the events at the school reached Roger, he rushed over immediately. When Liam saw his father, he was hugely relieved.
Dad, save me!
Looking at his daughter and son in such a sorry state, Roger had a bland expression on his face. With his hands behind his back, he walked toward Mark.
Young man, please wait for a moment,
Roger said again. Mark slowly removed the foot that was stepping on Liam's chest, then returned to Roger and said, "Who are you?" Roger held out a hand and said politely, "I'm Roger Lamb, the head of the Lamb family, and these are my children." As soon as Roger said that, Liam got up from the ground in a sorry state. He ran to his father and said,
Dad, this person caused my little sister to be struck by the fish venom, and he even attacked me. If you hadn't arrived in time, Dad, he beat me. We can't let him go.
With his father present, Liam quickly grew cocky again. Liam knew that his father was a top-class expert who had cultivated for many years. His strength was not ordinary. Even if this Mark person had a few tricks up his sleeve, he still wouldn't be a match for Roger Lamb. But what Liam didn't expect was that just as he finished speaking, Roger would suddenly raise his hand and slap his son's face. This slap completely stunned Liam.
Dad, why did you slap me?
This guy almost killed me just now, and he refuses to save Tamsin. Hurry up and find someone to cripple him."
"Shut up, you unfilial son,"
Roger shouted loudly, interrupting Liam's words. After that, he looked at the black palm print on Liam's chest. He was secretly shocked. Fire Thunder Palm? He looked at this young man called Mark. This man looked very ordinary, but somehow he was able to use the Fire Thunder Palm. Roger was well aware of how powerful the Fire Thunder Palm was. If it wasn't for this young man showing mercy, Roger's precious son Liam would have met his maker with just this palm strike. But what puzzled Roger was that this Fire Thunder Palm was a palm technique that only the people of the Profound group could use. The Profound group had been destroyed many years ago, and the Fire Thunder Palm had also been lost. How could this young man in front of him know this? He had a feeling that this young man's identity was not ordinary. Roger was a smart man. Before he knew the background of this young man, he would never make a move rashly. So he didn't immediately accuse Mark. Instead, he pushed his precious son aside, clenched his fists, and said respectfully to Mark,
"My son is rude. It's because I have taught him wrongly. I'm sorry for letting you see this."
Roger's attitude surprised Mark. Mark looked at the respectful Roger and said,
"You may be the head of the Lamb family, but you're not a very good head. You've raised your son and daughter without discipline, so they're just like you, arrogant and despotic. Today I'll discipline them on your behalf. If you don't like it, then feel free to try to do something about it." Roger said, "Young man, you don't need to do that. It's all my fault for not disciplining them. I will do better in the future." Then Roger glared at his son, Liam, and said sternly, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and apologize to this young man." Liam felt like his lungs were about to explode from anger when he heard this.
"What? You want me to apologize to him? Who does he think he is?"
Another slap landed on Liam's face, and Roger shouted angrily, "Don't be a brat. I told you to apologize. Stop talking nonsense and do as I say."
Liam was so angry that he took a deep breath. "What right does he have that I should apologize to him?"
Mark sneered and said, "Only the right that comes from being able to kill you with a single palm strike if I want to. Remember, I could have killed you just now, and I'm the only one who can save your little sister." At this moment, Tamsin suddenly screamed. She held her stomach with both hands and rolled on the ground. Master Zachariah, who was standing aside, was shocked when he saw this. "This is not good. The person who planted the venom has already sensed that someone was going to remove it, so he urged the Fish Venom King to speed up the absorption of energy essence. In just a moment, I'm afraid that Miss Lamb will become a dried corpse, an empty husk." Everyone looked at Tamsin and saw that her stomach was swelling at a speed visible to the naked eye. From this, it could be seen that the Fish Venom King was rapidly absorbing the essence in her body. At the same time, it was growing rapidly. If this continued, it would only take a moment for the Fish Venom King to turn Tamsin into a dried corpse. Then it would exit her body and truly form into the Fish Venom King. Once that happened, it would be extremely difficult to get rid of it. Tamsin let out a blood-curdling scream, causing everyone present to feel a chill run down their spines. "Dad, save me! Save me!" Tamsin screamed as she stretched out a hand toward her father. Roger's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly said to Mark, "Young man, I have not taught my children well, and they have offended you. I'll naturally give you an explanation for this matter, but first, please forgive me for being petty and save my daughter. Please, please help me." Mark looked at Roger Lamb, who was begging Mark to save his daughter, Tamsin. "I didn't plan to save Tamsin's life, but I didn't expect you to be the patriarch of the Lamb family either. You're surprisingly humble. Okay, I'll do what you ask today. I will save your daughter, but you have to discipline her when you get home. If you continue letting your children do whatever they want to harm others, I won't let them off lightly next time," Mark said. "Yes, of course. Don't worry. When we get home, I will definitely discipline this bratty son and daughter of mine properly," Roger said. Mark looked at Tamsin. She had been tortured by the Fish Venom King until she no longer looked like a normal person. He believes that after today's lesson, she would definitely restrain herself and behave better in the future. In fact, Mark was only using this method to teach Tamsin a lesson.
He would have saved her even if her father hadn't begged. It was a human life after all, and he couldn't stand idly by and watch her die. Mark didn't say any more, but walked to Tamsin's side. He stared at her bulging belly for a few seconds before he suddenly closed his eyes and raised his right hand, gathering all the strength in his body. Then he suddenly dropped his hand and slapped Tamsin's stomach.
Go!
Along with Mark's loud shout and Tamsin's louder scream, a black and red thing suddenly shot out of Tamsin's open mouth and began to grow. It was the big black and red fish from before. Mark immediately chanted the fire controlling spell. A flame suddenly shot out from his palm and quickly spread into a net, enveloping the fish Venom King and quickly igniting it. Just like that, the fish was incinerated mid-air. After a series of crackling sounds, it turned into ash and disappeared. Everyone was dumbfounded, especially Roger. At first glance, he could tell that Mark wasn't an ordinary person, but he didn't expect him to be so powerful. With just a light palm strike, he had evicted the fish Venom King from Tamsin's stomach, and his palm could even shoot flames, burning the fish to ashes. Master Zachariah, who was standing to one side, couldn't help but praise Mark.
An expert. Truly an amazing expert.
Tamsin's stomach became smaller, but her whole body lay limp on the ground, and she didn't breathe. Because she had been tortured so much by that fish, her body was extremely weak, but she was no longer in serious condition.
Thank you, young man, for saving my daughter.
Roger took a step forward to express his gratitude, but Mark waved him away.
No need for thanks, Mark said. If your daughter dares to be so arrogant and despotic toward others in the future, I definitely won't let her off so lightly a second time.
After saying this, Mark turned around and walked away, leaving Roger and the others behind. Looking at Mark's back as he left, everyone sighed to themselves. He was not a simple man. No, this man was really not simple at all. Kelly was stunned for a moment before she suddenly reacted and chased after Mark.
Hey, Mark, wait for me.
Mark had just walked through the school gate when he received a call from Marcy.
Mr. Johnson, it's me, Marcy Green. I'm just calling to find out why you didn't go to Ocean Design today, as you said you would. They were expecting you. Someone is waiting there to receive you,
Marcy said. Only then did Mark remember that the Green family had given him an excellent job running their company, Ocean Design.
Sorry, Miss Green. I've had some things to attend to these last 2 days, so I was delayed. I'll go to Ocean Design tomorrow.
Okay, don't worry. I was just checking in because I hadn't heard from you. When you have time, just go to the office. Oh, right, and you don't need to call me Miss Green in the future. Just call me Marcy, okay?
Marcy said.
Okay, Marcy it is. When I go to the office tomorrow to take up the position, Marcy, I don't need a big fuss, mate. I hope I can keep a low profile.
Okay, I'll tell the people there that you like to be left alone,
Marcy said. Thanks. And Marcy, by coincidence, I have a demonic pill in my possession now. Can you get some more of the really old herbs in the next few days? I want to put this demonic pill together with the medicinal herbs and see if I can refine a demon spirit pill. Marcy immediately became interested when she heard that. This was because the energy return infusion and the recovery infusion that Mark gave her and her grandfather before were extremely helpful to them both. Not only did they allow her grandfather's health to return to normal in a short period of time, but they also increased her enhancement by a level. It was really miraculous. She already regarded Mark as an expert who could concoct medicinal infusions. Now that she heard Mark mention something about the demon spirit pill, she couldn't help but ask curiously.
Demon spirit pill? What kind of miraculous medicinal pill is this?
Mark said. Demon spirit pill, as the name implies, requires a demon beast or spirit demon's demonic pill as the catalyst, and then it is refined with precious medicinal herbs. The effect is even better than the recovery infusion.
Hey, is that so? Even better than the recovery infusion? That's great, Mr. Johnson. Don't worry, leave this matter to me. I'll get some more herbs for you right away.
Marcy paused and then remembered something.
Oh, right. Mr. Johnson, there will be a private high-end auction in a few days' time. It will not be made public, but some of the big shots in California will gather together. We will exchange resources, and I'd like you to come with me. We should be able to find some useful items.
All right, no problem, Mark said. Mark and Marcy chatted for a while longer before hanging up. Then Mark turned around and found that his sister-in-law was following behind him. "Why are you following me?" Mark asked. Kelly looked at Mark with a complicated expression. She suddenly felt that this man was different from before. She was wondering, wasn't this Mark a wimp? Why couldn't he do anything before, but now he suddenly seems like a different person today? She remembered that Mark had helped force the fish venom out of her and Tamsin's stomachs in such a short amount of time. There was even a fire in his palm, burning the fish to ashes. This was like a myth. Kelly couldn't believe it, but she had witnessed everything that happened just now. She had no choice but to believe what she'd seen, even though it was like a dream. Seeing his sister-in-law in a daze, Mark frowned and asked again, "Kelly, why are you following me? Hurry back to school and go to class." As he spoke, Mark strode away. "Wait," Kelly shouted and quickly chased after Mark. When she caught up to him, she said, "Wretched loser, no, Mark, you helped me remove the fish venom just now. You even burned that fish to death. How did you do it? Even Master Zachariah couldn't do it, so how could you know the chant? How could your palm spit fire? Was it a magic trick?" Mark shook his head silently, but he didn't explain anything because he was no longer an ordinary person. Dispelling a fish venom and eliminating a fish venom king was only a matter of minutes, but there was no need to tell his sister-in-law about it. If she persisted in treating him as if he was a good-for-nothing, it would be up to her what he shared with her in the future. So Mark said lightly, "It's nothing. If you think it's magic, then just call it magic. It's as good a name as any." After saying that, Mark strode away again. Kelly froze there and frowned as she muttered, "It can't really be magic, right? There isn't actually a magic like that, is there? No, Mark has always been a wimp. He only knows how to do housework. When did he possibly learn magic?" When she came back to her senses, Kelly found that Mark had gone far ahead of her. She suddenly remembered something. She waved her hand and shouted at him, "Hey, thank you for what you did today." Kelly sincerely wanted to thank Mark, because if it were not for his help today, the whole school would have believed that where there's smoke, there's fire, and she'd have been labeled a tramp all her life. When Mark returned home, his mother-in-law, Tia, started nagging away as usual. But this time, there was a trace of cold humor in Tia's nagging. A useless person like you still has the nerve to come back? But the good news is, your days here are numbered. You probably don't know it yet, but my daughter has caught up with a good friend. I would give you 3 guesses to figure out who it is, but I can't be bothered. So I might as well tell you that my daughter's good friend is her first love. They went to high school together, and now he's the CEO of Beauty Makeup. Mark washed his hands at the kitchen sink and didn't bother responding. Useless trash, listen up. My daughter has found a man who is 1,000 times better than you in every way, Tia said. Nicole was soft-hearted before and refused to kick you out of the house. But now, for the sake of love, she will definitely divorce you. She will not be burdened by you anymore. Idiot, be prepared to be kicked out of the house by my daughter and Sean, her first love and a real man. When Mark heard Sean's name, he couldn't help but sneer. This sneer angered Tia. She was like a shrew. She raised her hand and pointed at Mark and scolded loudly. What are you laughing at? Don't think that I'm joking with you, you useless piece of trash. Your comfortable life in my house is about to end. Pack your bags and get lost. Mark's eyes lit up like torches. He looked at Tia and said word by word, Love? Do you really think there is love between Sean and your daughter? Of course, Tia said with confidence. They had feelings for each other when they were in school. It was just that they couldn't get together for some reason. Now Sean is the CEO of Beauty Makeup. Do you want to know why he set up the branch of Beauty Makeup in this city here in LA? His love for Nicole brought him here. Tia's face was full of pride, but she immediately thought of something, and her face became angry again. By
By the way, I heard that you almost ruined my daughter's and Sean's dinner the other night. You actually said that Nicole was pregnant in front of Sean and that she was carrying your child? Or was it twins? You're completely shameless. But you won't get your wish, because I've already been to see Sean, and I've made it clear to him that my daughter and you are not a real husband and wife. Although you have been married for 5 years, you have never touched her. She's still as pure as snow, and it is impossible for her to be pregnant with your child.
Hey, you went to look for Sean? Mark raised his chin and asked.
Of course I did. This concerns my daughter's happiness, so I'll do whatever I need to. Sean sent an invitation to her, and she went on a date with him.
A date? Are you sure that Nicole went on a date with Sean?
Of course. What else do you think? Wretched loser, if you know what's good for you, then leave my house. Go away. Crawl into a hole somewhere and pull it in after you. If you want to pretend that you're a man, divorce my daughter and stop dragging her down.
Mark narrowed his eyes, and a cold light shot out from them. Last time, he said that Nicole was carrying his own child, and that scared Sean away. He never thought that the fellow would actually come back. It seemed like Mark needed to teach this guy a lesson. A scum like him wasn't fit to talk to Nicole, let alone touch her. Mark took a look at Tia's smug face and felt that this woman was beyond redemption. It seemed like she was already treating Sean as her best son-in-law. Ignorant woman, Mark thought. Mark couldn't be bothered with Tia anymore. He turned around and prepared to go to his bedroom. But Tia said behind his back,
Wretched fool, where are you going? You didn't even look at the time. It's late. You need to start cooking unless you want us to starve to death.
Mark sneered once again. You're planning to kick me out of the house as soon as possible, yet you're still counting on me to cook for you? I'm sorry, but I'm not in the mood. If you want to eat, get it yourself. Otherwise, I guess you'll starve to death. After saying that, Mark quickly walked into the bedroom and slammed the door.
Good. You've grown up a bit, haven't you? You haven't even been kicked out of the house yet, and you're already dropping the ball, bastard.
Tia was so angry that her whole body was trembling, but she immediately sneered and said,
What are you so proud of? Wait until my daughter divorces you and marries Sean. Will I need to cook then? Sean's family is so rich that when the time comes, the maids will treat me to all the meals I want. I won't need to do anything. Right now, I just need to wait for Nicole and Sean to finalize things, and for this loser to leave. Then I can enjoy myself.
After breakfast the next day, Mark went to Ocean Design. He'd promised Marcy that he would take over as president of the company, and it wasn't good to wait too long. Mark had just arrived at the main doors when he ran into David Fife, the fiancé of Nicole's cousin Jennifer. Mark didn't have a good impression of David. This guy was merely a department manager at Ocean Design, but he was incredibly arrogant and liked to pretend he earned more and was way more important than in reality. When he'd shown up in Mark's house with Jennifer and her parents, it was only to show off and try to make Nicole's family feel small. Furthermore, David kept saying that he wanted to find a job for Mark. He suggested that Mark could fetch tea and coffee, or perhaps clean the washrooms. He was clearly looking down on Mark. Mark didn't want to talk to David and hoped the other man didn't recognize him, but David's sharp eyes spotted him immediately. David was stunned for a moment and then said with a smile, "Oh, Mark, why are you here?" Then David immediately slapped a hand on his head. "Oh, yes, I almost forgot. I promised I would put in a good word for you. Look at my memory. You really should have called me first because I'm in the middle of something. Why don't you wait out here for a while and I'll come get you later?" Mark said lightly, "No need. I'll go in and take a look around. You do your own thing, and maybe we can meet up later." After saying that, Mark walked into the company building. Ocean Design occupied an entire 18-story building. It wasn't a small company. Before coming here, Mark had learned a little about Ocean Design. There were more than a dozen departments: human resources, sales, design, public relations, etc. Thinking about how he would be in charge of this huge company in the future, Mark felt a headache coming on. But with his current position as CEO of the company, David, this small department manager, wasn't worth the time of day. David saw Mark's cold attitude and couldn't help frowning. He scolded himself. "Damn it, why are you pretending in front of me? You should be begging me to find a job for you. Yet you're putting on airs. You want to go in and take a look around by yourself? Who do you think you are? You don't have any connections. You think you can just go in and ask around and you'll be able to apply for the job all by yourself? Dream on." David tidied his tie and a cold smile flickered on his face. Initially, he thought that Mark would try his best to curry favor with him when he asked him to do something. He didn't expect that he would actually put on airs. Alright, let him put on airs then. Later, when security chases him out, he would come and beg, and then David would definitely teach him a lesson. After Mark entered the building, he took the elevator to the top floor. The door opened, and a young woman wearing a light pink business suit and a sweet smile was waiting in the hallway.
"Sir, you're here. I've been waiting for you."
The woman offered her hand to Mark.
"I'm your secretary, Mary Brown. I heard that you were coming today. We're all ready for you. If not for Miss Green's instructions that you like to keep a low profile, we would have done more to welcome you."
Mark looked the woman up and down and nodded with satisfaction. "Mary Brown, my secretary. Very good." After saying that, Mark strode toward the CEO's office. Although this was his first time coming to the company, he already had some understanding of the layout of the various floors of the building. Mary Brown hurriedly followed him.
"Sir, please follow me. Your office is here. As your secretary, I'm here to help you in any way I can. You can tell me if you need anything."
Mark followed Mary to the CEO's office. The entire room was spacious and bright. There was a mahogany desk, an office chair, and a French window. It was wonderful to stand in front of the window and look at the scenery outside. Mary first did her duty and introduced the operations of the entire company to Mark. She also gave him some information that required the CEO to go over the target. Mark said, "As the CEO, I may not be able to work every day. Mary, in the future, a lot of work may fall on you."
"Don't worry, sir. I'll do my best to help you,"
Mary said. Mark could tell that this was a very smart woman. Although Mary hadn't met Mark before, Marcy had sent her a photo and told her that the young man in it was about to become the CEO of Ocean Design. After seeing Mark in the flesh, Mary was shocked. She never thought that the CEO would be so young. Moreover, he kept a low profile and dressed very plainly. He didn't even allow a welcome ceremony to be held on his first day, and he came here all by himself. He definitely had an interesting personality. After studying the company's accounts for a while, Mark stood up and said, "Mary, I hope you can keep my identity as CEO a secret for now. I might be staying in the company for a few days with another identity. I'll also get to know the situation of all the employees in the company." Mary smiled and said,
"Sir, you aren't going to do anonymous surveillance, are you?"
"I guess I am, so please don't reveal my identity for the time being," Mark said. Mary nodded.
"I understand."
"All right, then I'll be leaving. If there's anything else, I'll let you know." Mark stood up and walked out of the office. He quickly took the elevator to the first floor. David was hanging out on the first floor. When he saw Mark come out of the elevator, a mocking smile appeared on his face. He thought to himself, "Dumb fool, have you been chased out by the Human Resources Department? Do you think you will succeed without me?" Then he took out his phone and called Jake Ransom from the Human Resources Department. "Hello, Mr. Ransom. This is David Fife from the Design Department. Did a guy called Mark Johnson apply for a job with you?" Jake Ransom was stunned for a moment and then said,
Mark Johnson? No, I've seen no such person.
"No?" David was stunned. Mark Johnson didn't apply for the job at the Human Resources Department?
He did not, Mr. Fife. Is there a problem?
Jake Ransom asked. Well, it's like this. Mark is a relative of mine. Today he's coming to our company to ask for an interview. He's not the smartest guy, but I was hoping you could find a position for him on my account. Jake Ransom said.
Mr. Fife, this isn't good. The new CEO will be arriving soon. If I just give jobs to people because they're your friends or relatives, how will that look on me? If the new CEO finds out.
Hey, why would a big shot like the CEO care about such a small matter? Besides, I'm not asking you to give him an important job. Just make him a custodian, David said.
A cleaner? I can do that, but is that really what you want for a relative of yours? How about this? I still have a vacancy for a gopher to fetch tea and coffee and generally be useful. Why don't we let Mark do that?
Jake suggested. That would be fine. Thank you, Mr. Ransom. I owe you one. David hung up the phone. He saw Mark walking over. He went up to him and said, So what do you think? Not bad, right? You didn't get an interview from the Human Resources Department just now. Why was that? Did you see how big we are? It doesn't matter. I told you before that with a recommendation from me, a job for you is a simple matter. I called HR department just now, and you can officially start work today. Mark raised his eyebrows and asked softly, Is that so? You arranged my work so quickly. Then I have to thank you. Hey, why are you being so polite? We're all bros. I can't let you always be a wimp and make Cousin Nicole look down on you. If a man has a job, he has dignity, David said. Mark asked, What job did you arrange for me to do? Do you really want me to be a cleaner? David shrugged. Because you don't have abilities or qualifications, there's a limit to what you can get in the way of a job. But I saved you from needing to clean the toilets, because I don't need you embarrassing me. So from now on, you can work as a gopher in our design department on the 4th floor. You'll fetch tea and coffee, keep things tidy, and run errands for people. It's not hard. It pays a few thousand a month. Not much, but better than being a loser at home. David's words were full of sarcasm, but Mark didn't care. He only smiled and said, Okay. You'll be starting from the bottom, but who knows? You might be able to work your way up one day. Okay, you can report to HR now. Just mention my name. They'll arrange everything for you. You can start today. David went forward and patted Mark on the shoulder. Good luck. Mark smiled and said softly, Good luck to you too. Before noon, the people from HR had arranged everything for Mark. Because he was just a gopher, there were no complicated procedures. He just filled out a form, got hired, and was then given a set of work clothes. After his supervisor explained some things to pay attention to, Mark got to work. There were a total of 18 floors in the building. Each floor had a different gopher assigned to it. Mark was in charge of the 4th floor, where David's design department was located. The design department was neither big nor small. There were about 20 employees, all working in cubicles. Only David, as the boss, had his own office. Although it was not comparable to the CEO's office on the top floor, compared to the cubicles that the employees worked in, it was pretty good. Mark quickly realized that the gopher job was hard work. Not only did he have to fetch tea and coffee for every employee, but they could also order Mark around if any of them needed anything. Hey, new guy, go and get me a bottle of water, the good kind. In one cubicle, a woman was typing something on her computer while shouting at Mark. Hey you, Mark, right? Give me a deli sandwich, will you? Ham and Swiss on rye, hold the mayo, extra pickle, yelled someone else. Another voice came from a different cubicle. Hey, gopher boy, my delivery is downstairs, go get it. Mark, come over here. Hurry up and make a copy of this document. After that, send it to the CEO's secretary on the top floor. Make it snappy. Mark spent the whole day running. When it was almost quitting time, David walked out of his office. He said to Mark, How did it go? A little tired after your first day? No rest, right? You'll get used to it. David then raised his voice and said to his staff, Mark here is a relative of mine. In the future, if any of you need help, you can ask him. You're welcome. Hearing this, the employees covered their mouths and secretly smiled. David was clearly telling everyone to order Mark around as much as possible. Mark was not angry. He wanted to see what other tricks David would play. All right, it's almost quitting time. Let's all go to the Destiny Pavilion Hotel for dinner, David said. The employees were excited when they heard that. Destiny Pavilion Hotel? That's a high-end place. But why, Mr. Fife? Why are you treating us again today? David said. Today is my cousin's first day working in our company. It's not a big deal to us, but it's pretty special for him. As his family, I'd like to welcome him and celebrate a little." One of the employees looked worried. "But with so many of us going to the Destiny Pavilion Hotel to eat, you will have to spend a lot of money." David said very pretentiously, "It's nothing. As your manager, I want to treat you guys." Another employee said, "Mr. Fife, you have found such a good job for your cousin. He should be treating us." "Yes, Mark should treat us all," everyone chorused. David sneered to himself. "Ask Mark to treat me? Come on, this useless person probably doesn't have a penny to his name. He can't afford a high-end place like the Destiny Pavilion Hotel. It's only his first day of work and he hasn't been paid yet, so he has no money for treating anyone," David said. Unexpectedly, as soon as David finished speaking, Mark stepped forward and said, "Having a new job is indeed a new beginning for me. It would be nice of me to treat Mr. Fife as a thank you. All right, I'll do it. Today." Hearing this, David almost choked. He thought to himself, "Damn, you're a wimp, and your wallet is emptier than your head. I was afraid that you would make a fool of yourself, so I tried to save your self-esteem. But you just had to pretend to be special and offer to treat everyone to a meal. We're talking about the Destiny Pavilion Hotel, and dinner for more than 20. This won't be cheap." David was very unhappy. He'd always been the one to lead the way when it came to treating people to meals. After all, he was the boss of the department, and this was a great way to show his identity. But he didn't expect that this foolish Mark would actually try to snatch it from him. Mark was overestimating his own abilities. He really thought he was something special.